What's up, everybody? Hope you're having a great day. Welcome back to another episode of the Bourbon Pour. I'm Jordan.
I'm Brian.
And we're bringing you another week of headlines around the world of bourbon. In this episode, you're going to see us talk about the Michters releases the 20-year bourbon, Kentucky's record year for bourbon, a rye variety that was found in Michigan, plus all the bourbon releases and bourbon events. But let's move into it, Brian. The first story that we have to talk about is Michters Distillery releasing its 20-year bourbon. That's a pretty big swing in the bourbon industry. This is the first release that they have had since 2022. So it's been a couple years since we've seen this. That's really made waves in the bourbon world. Yeah. If you're watching this, you probably already know because it's kind of been everywhere. But Master Distiller Dan McKee and Master of Maturation Andrea Wilson both approved of this release. That's how it works there at Michters. Both of them have to sign off on it. It's going to come in at 114.2 proof, which is pretty high. Right. For Michters is known for low proof, with a suggested retail price of $1,200. Michters President Joseph Magliocco said that it's difficult to make bourbons this good without them being over oak. 20 years is a long time in the barrel. Earlier in the year, the distillery was named the most admired by Drinks International, and the master distiller Dan McKee said this is a great way to celebrate that designation. So if you find that bottle and you got $1,200, go ahead.
Yeah, that's a lot of money. Mm-hmm. And my only thought on that would be the 10-year offerings that they have come in around $200. Mm-hmm. So that's $20 a year. Yeah. And for the next 10 years, basically that's $100 a year to get it up to the 20 mark. Now, there's not many 20-year offerings out there, so I get the jump, but that's just an astronomical jump.
I think what the distillers would kind of rebut with that is that in 20 years, there's a lot of evaporation in those barrels, so there's not very many bottles. They didn't state how many bottles were going to be available. It's going to be extremely limited, of course, but that evaporation really occurs and probably progresses after 12 years. Right. And then, they pay all the taxes on all that every year. Right. So they're trying to recoup some of that money. Although $1,200,
probably not gonna get it from me.
No thanks.
But I still might do the 10-year if I come across that one.
Yeah, but no thanks on the 20. Hopefully, though, if you're watching this and you're interested in that bottle, you got the cash for it. We hope you get one.
Definitely get one. So, okay. Well, next up, we got out of the Kentucky Distillers Association. They announced that the Kentucky bourbon basically it's booming. So these are 2023 numbers, and they had another record year. Basically, they have over 23,000 jobs that it creates for the Kentucky area. There's 2.5 million visitors, and that's up 14% from 2022, which was a record year. Yeah. So it just continues to grow. They've had visitors from all 50 states, 25 countries. There's 115 licensed distilleries in the state of Kentucky. So that has grown. That's like 10, 15 times what it started. So the actual during 2023 they saw a record of $350 million in-state local tax revenue. So they're raking it in off of bourbon. So and there's also a $9 billion of economic boost as well. And the distillers, they have a plan to invest $3.5 billion over the next few years, and then roughly $200 million directly into tourism and experiences and things of that nature. So Kentucky, the trail now has 46 distilleries after starting with 7 in 1999. So you could do the trail in one day back then. You can't do that anymore. Yeah. And then we got this story actually came from the Courier Journal out of Louisville.
First one. And Brian, both of us, we had the summer travel series, and we were down in Kentucky quite a bit. we're only about 45 minutes north of Louisville. You see it. You see the investment. You said $3.5 billion over the next few years, investments by distilleries. You see new distilleries popping up. You see new visitor centers. I went to the Wild Turkey Visitor Center. Buffalo Trace, you can tour their $1 billion expansion, and you could see that expansion going on. Well, next story here is super interesting, and I'm going to try to make this as brief as possible. But we're going to have the full story from this. The Fox 17 in Grand Rapids, Michigan reported on this, so the link for that story is in the description, and I would highly encourage you to click on it and read it. So the story goes, Mammoth Distilling, it's a Michigan distillery, and a team of scientists and divers went to the bottom of Lake Huron in search of the James R. Bentley, which was a boat that sank in November 1878. So they were in search of Rosen rye, which is a variety of rye that no longer exists. It was developed by Michigan State years and years ago and became popular. That boat, the James R. Bentley that sank, was carrying that rye. Mm-hmm. So Prohibition took the demand away from Rosen rye, and whenever Prohibition ended, corn-heavy bourbon kind of took over for rye. So that variety of rye just kind of died. So the thought is to germinate that. This team went down and dove in September, went and extracted samples, and the thought is to germinate it and use it for a distillate from this distillery. Mm-hmm. So the divers swam down and found it, used special extraction tubes, pulled them out, threw them on ice, took them to a lab. So they plan to use that rye and another rye seed from the U.S. Department of Agriculture banks to kind of resurrect this variety. Time's going to tell, though. It might be 2 to 3 years to see if that's going to come to fruition. But Mammoth Distilling, they've even aged some whiskey in the wood from the shipwreck.
Right. So it was a different shipwreck.
Yeah, a different shipwreck. Yeah, they've kind of done this.
So
kind of
shipwrecks in Michigan are actually, or in the water around it, are owned by the state.
Yeah.
So they had to actually work with the state to get that. One was not. I don't know how he got it.
Yeah, he got it at an auction.
Yeah, and then they got staves out of that one for the other thing that they did, and then he's working with Michigan State University to grow the grain.
It is wild.
Or the rye, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it is wild. Apparently, there's like 6,000 shipwrecks at the bottom of the Great Lakes, and only like 2/3 of them have been discovered, and so who knows what's down there. So the state of Michigan and the distillers there plan to market Michigan rye as a pretty big concept in the same way that Kentucky markets bourbon. So like I said, full story on that. Fox 17 out of Grand Rapids did a full report on that. Mm-hmm. Highly recommend that article and try to follow it. It's kind of hard to follow.
Yeah, there's a lot to it. It's really neat. Good reading.
Really cool.
Yeah. So okay. Well, next up we got a few new offerings that are coming out. So we got some new releases
and some heavy hitters.
Yes, and we're going to start off with a heavy hitter. So this is probably one of my all-time favorite bottles in the 2024 King Kentucky. Obviously, I don't have the 24 bottle, but it's being released. It's going to be 16 years and 30.4 proof. Which sounds delicious. And it's the 7th edition of the Altar Premium product. So this, it technically is supposed to be released in October, but it's not really been hitting the shelves yet. Mm-hmm. There's approximately 5,100 bottles that are being produced out of 63 chosen barrels. So this is, like I said, it's the top of their upper echelon.
Cream of the crop.
Cream of the crop that they put out. And then the production dates go back to July and November of 2007, and they were aged in the warehouse G and J. And the majority of the bottles will be in Kentucky with a limited quantity in 10 other states. Indiana is not included. I'm not very happy about that. It has a manufactured retail price of $349, which is up a little bit. I bought mine 2 years ago, and it was $300, $299.
Okay. Would you buy it for $350?
I would.
That was a quick yes. So, all right, moving on to the next one. The A. Smith Bowman Distillery announced the release of Abraham Bowman Oak Series, American Oak. It's the second experimental whiskey in the series. Series explores cask maturation in different oak varieties from around the world. This particular offering is going to be 135 proof and aged 12 years. Sounds pretty cool. Sounds very interesting. Retails for only $79.99. Only purchased through an online lottery. That lottery is November 25th through December 2nd. Winners must pick up at the distillery before 5 p.m. on December 22nd. That information all came from their website. We'll try to find the link and put it in the description how you can enter that lottery if you're interested in trying to make it out to that distillery.
Yeah, very cool. So, well, next up we got an offering from Pursuit Spirits. They're going to renew the Mellowwood brand. And it's going to be a 6-year bottle, bottled in bond, and it's going to be a 375 milliliter. It doesn't have a release date yet, but it's being distilled by the Rabbit Hole, which is kind of interesting. That they'd be working with them on that. But Mellowwood was founded in 1865, and that's where George Garvin Brown, Brown Foreman, he sourced all of his whiskey through them. So the brand closed during Prohibition, and then General Distillers operated it from 1933 to 1974. Mellowwood is located where Pursuit United is today, so that's kind of cool. So they took over their building.
Yeah. I listened to him on the podcast, and I like that podcast a lot. I'm sure if you're watching this, you know their podcast. Go check it out. But really neat story that they kind of uncovered this, and they had a blind of different sourced whiskey that they bought from, and Rabbit Hole was what they landed on. And pretty cool. So, and they have plans for other special 375s that they're working on. So next release is out of Chattanooga. So it's announced its 6th barrel finish release. Triple Islay cask finish will be available at their experimental distillery and select retailers in 12 different states, including Indiana. So we got excluded on King of Kentucky, but we've got this Triple Islay cask finish from Chattanooga. So it's 111 proof with a suggested retail price of $59.99.
That's right.
That's what I love about Chattanooga. That's what I love about Chattanooga. And I've got a little display here on the screen that shows the flavor profile. Whiskey includes a custom blend of 3 different peated whiskeys made with 3 peated malts sourced from 3 UK malt houses and finished in 3 legendary Islay casks. If you can follow all of that. This thing is all over the map. Pretty cool. So Islay is a place in Scotland, and it's I think it's an island actually. And it's famous for the rich, earthy, smoky characters that it gets with its barley malt that is dried and smoked with peat moss native to that island.
So, very cool. They always put out good stuff. So unique. They're not afraid to venture out and try something different. So.
Peated isn't my thing, but I would be up for trying it.
Yeah, definitely. So, okay. Well, next up, Old Forester's. They're getting ready to release a rye bottled in bond. It's going to be a limited 117 series. So the bottle is going to be a 10-year rye. It's going to come out in March of 2025, so we got a little time to prepare for it. It's distilled in March of 2015, which puts it 10 years old. Mm-hmm. That's a 375 milliliter option, so hopefully something that's going to be a little on the affordable side, even if it is a little bit more higher end. So it's going to, the 117 series made its debut in 2021. Now we got some bourbon events to talk about, so let's move on to that.
Yeah, just a few. First one is pretty funny. Okay, Still Austin is doing this. I don't know if you saw this.
I did.
Did you see it? Okay. So Still Austin is going to offer its Kentucky Fill-Up Day, November 23rd at the Texas Distillery. So this event is already sold out. It was available to 500 ticket holders. So the idea, Still Austin kind of wants to make the comparison that you can't just get good bourbon in Kentucky. You can get it anywhere, particularly at their distillery. Mm-hmm. So the idea, you take an empty bottle of Kentucky bourbon to the distillery, and Still Austin will fill it for you with their own product and charge you $1. So they want to prove that Texas bourbon can compete with Kentucky bourbon. And I will say that Still Austin, what I have had from them, is really, really good. You are limited to 1 bottle, so
yeah.
Funny concept,
right? Yeah, for $1, but for $1, 1 bottle is probably fine. Yeah, and another side note to that: Texas and Kentucky are playing football.
That's right.
So they're going to have a party,
view watching party
for the game, which is kind of what spurred that to why they did it. So
great note.
So definitely cool.
Yeah, so funny as all get out.
Okay, well, next event we got the Lexington Bourbon Con. It's going to be coming up January 17th and 18th. Lexington, Kentucky. So that's where it's at, and then it's at the Marriott at the Griffin Gate. Okay. And there's 36 distilleries and partners that put this event on. Ticket prices are ranged from $229 to $2,500. So I'm going to guess that the $2,500 comes with some perks. So those are platinum tickets for 2.
Okay.
And
so I'm $11.25.
Yeah, I'm not sure what they come with, but that sounds pretty good. So you can go to BourbonCom. Lex.com to link. It'll be in the descriptions, and if you want to go to this event, you can get you some tickets.
Yeah, cool. Final event and news item for the week: party like it's 1933 Repeal Day celebration. So repeal prohibition, I think, December 4th. So 8 p.m. at Hell or High Water, they're going to be having a fun night out. Tickets are only $50. Includes 2 drinks. Live music, cocktails, costume contest, vintage photo booth going to be put on by Heaven Hill, and they're going to pick, different winners throughout the evening. Tickets are on Eventbrite or at the door. We will have the link in the description for that event as well. that's it for the bourbon news this week. That's all the different releases. Lots of fun items. I've been enjoying these videos. It keeps me kind of grounded to what's going on in bourbon. Hopefully you guys have been enjoying them. Just so you know, next week is Thanksgiving. Hope you have a happy Thanksgiving, but we're going to take a break for the bourbon news, and we'll be right back the next following week.
Enjoy your family, and don't worry about bourbon news.
Yeah, that's right. All right, we're going to end this episode the same way we always do, and that is when you're with your family and your friends, always share your whiskey.